Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today, I am going to be ranking every HVY vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online, or at least the ones that are purchasable, because nobody wants to see all these weird ass vehicles that nobody can purchase. Vehicles will be ranked based on how useful they are, as well as how useful they are for the price that they cost, as well as just how cool they are, customization, and just overall likability of the vehicles. Now, of course, before we get into this list, there is something that you must know. This list, like all my other tier lists, is 100% factual and cannot be argued with. So if you disagree, just know that you are simply wrong and everyone agrees that you are wrong and I am right. If you can accept these terms and conditions, let's go ahead and get started with the video. But before we do, drop a like if you enjoy, of course. Dislike if you don't. Consider subscribing if you're new. Now let's get started with F tier. In F tier, the sole HVY vehicle that we have here is the HVY Vitir for $1,222,500. And that's with the trade price. Without the trade price, it's $1,630,000 for a Pegasus vehicle that has no weapons and that has terrible performance, no customization, tips over really easily, is slow, looks pretty ugly. What were they thinking? Why? This thing is over $1 million for a truck that you can't have in a garage or customize or do anything with. F tier. Good. Moving on to D tier, we have a few HVY vehicles here, starting off, of course, with the HVY Dump for $1 million, or of course, you can go to the Quarry, which is located about halfway up the map on the right-hand side, and you can also steal these. Now, if you want one, it's going to cost you $1 million on the Warstock Cash and Carry website, and then it will become a Pegasus vehicle that you can call in and drive around. Now, the Dump is very slow, but it does have a bit of a cool factor. It is one of the largest vehicles in the entire game. It has to be the largest land vehicle in the entire game by far as well. So it is pretty cool. It's definitely an interesting vehicle. It is slow as hell. It is miserable to drive because it can't fit in many places, and also to drive anywhere cool with it, it will take you several hours. However, the HVY Dump, far cooler than the HVY Vitir. That thing is a piece of shit. I'm going to keep shitting on it throughout the video, so stay tuned for that. HVY Dump, though, definitely deserving of D tier, a way better use of $1 million than the Vitir. Piece of shit. Anyway, that's it for the Dump. It's pretty cool. On to the next one. Next up, we have the HVY Barracks, coming in at $450,000. Now, you can steal these from near Stab City, which is located in Blaine County, or near the Coke lockup, for those of you who are aware of that in online. They do spawn in there, and they are there just for the sole purpose of you taking them and driving them around. Or of course, you can purchase one for 450 grand off of the Warstock Cash and Carry website, which you can then call Pegasus for to go and pick up at an already inconvenient location. So I don't really recommend doing this, but it is available. Now, of course, you can also steal these in the military base as well, but if you don't have a hangar in there at the least, you will get stars for this. So do keep that in mind. The Barracks is, I believe, the largest capacity land vehicle in GTA Online when it comes to moving players around, except it's totally not because buses exist, so never mind. But it does hold a lot of players, and it is kind of a cool truck. It's based off of like a 5-ton military truck. Overall, it's kind of neat. Don't buy it though, please. And for the last vehicle of D tier, we have the HVY Dozer. These are available at certain locations on the map. My favorite is the one near the Little Seoul Park. You can just quickly go there and jump in it and drive it around. It's got a top speed of about 11. It's slow, and but you can make the bucket go up and down, which you can use to very slowly crush your enemies or civilians or cars, but it doesn't really work very well on cars. It's not like a tank, but overall it is a pretty cool vehicle. If only there was an option to put armor plating all over it. That would be really neat. That would be a really cool thing for ROCKSTAR to do. It'd be like a original idea and stuff like that. It'd be pretty nice. The Dozer though, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool vehicle. Definitely deserving of the top of D tier for sure. And finally, moving on to C tier. Starting things off, we have the HVY Insurgent. Coming in at $675,000 for the trade price. If you don't have it, it's going to run you $897,750. Overall, a pretty reasonable price given the performance and the armored protection that you are going to be receiving from the Insurgent. This thing can take about 8 RPGs, which is pretty awesome. It's very well armored and it is up pretty high, so you do actually have decent protection from ground targets who are shooting at you with small arms. It will basically outlast a 5-star wanted level for, well, really as long as you are willing to try to survive. It's very, very well armored in that sense, and it is kind of hard to shoot you in it. It can also hold 6 players, although I've never experienced this because I've never even seen that rear door on the Insurgent open. But apparently it does, so there you have it. The Insurgent is a really awesome vehicle. It's definitely one of my favorites in the entire game. I couldn't really rank it any higher than the bottom of C tier, but there is a pretty big discrepancy between the top of D tier and the bottom of C tier. It's almost like we skipped over an entire class. But anyways, that's it for the Insurgent. Next up in C tier, we have the HVY Chernobog, coming in at $1,125,000 if you have the trade price. If you don't, it's going to run you $1,500,000. Not a bad price, especially considering that this thing has the longest lock-on range of any missile system in the entire game, and it also has insanely good tracking, meaning that it's very, very hard for jets to even get near your location unless they have some cover that they can hide behind and then quickly jump up and attack you. The Chernobog's pretty interesting though. It is drivable and it also has a second seat which controls the missile silo, which you can use to take out jets and things of that nature. Now, of course, it will need to be parked and it will need to be raised up on the pylons in order to be able to fire, and this does make it a little bit of a soloable vehicle, although it's not super ideal for this, but you can do it. The Chernobog is a really awesome vehicle when it comes to air defense, but beyond that, it's kind of mid because it doesn't even have any armor, so it can't survive anything. Even if a pilot gets a rogue missile going in on you, you're pretty much done for in the Chernobog. So you might as well pack it in, but I do feel like for the price, it is a pretty awesome vehicle. At the very least, it's very cool looking, and you can also launch people up using the missile launcher as well, which is kind of fun and, yeah, worth mentioning, I would say. Overall, the Chernobog, definitely deserving of C tier. Next up, we have the HVY Barrage, and I actually hate this thing, but it goes for $1,595,000 if you have the trade price, and if you don't, it's going to be $2,121,350. Now, the Barrage is kind of mid. It's kind of a really worse Insurgent that costs a lot more money and that has worse armor. However, it does have some armaments to it, like a top-mounted gun, as well as a secondary top-mounted gun, which can be equipped as well, which is pretty cool. It does have some nice customization. The performance and the driving feel of this thing, though, is quite awful. I really don't like it in that aspect, but it's pretty hard to deny that it's a very usable vehicle. It can take 4 RPGs, it can provide quite a bit of fire, and it can carry 4 players. So it's a pretty decent vehicle in that regard. Just not really my favorite driving experience of all time, but probably people aren't really going to be buying this for the driving experience, more of the functionality of it. For the price, it's okay. And at the top of C tier, we have the HVY Insurgent Pickup, coming in at $1,350,000 if you have the trade price to $1,795,500. This was added with the original Heists update all the way back in 2014 or 2015. I can't even remember, it's so long ago, but it is a pretty cool vehicle. This was really our first introduction to a militarized vehicle in GTA Online that was purchasable other than fighter jets and like the Rhino tank, for example. This thing's pretty awesome though. It can have a top-mounted gunner as well as 8 other players within the Insurgent Pickup. It's an absolute powerhouse. It's really, really awesome to drive. It's really fun to go around with your friends in. And it also has an upgradable version, which you will be seeing later on in this list. Overall, for the price, it's a pretty good investment, and I would definitely say to pick one up, especially if you have plans of turning it into the Insurgent Pickup Custom. And with that, we have C tier completely wrapped up. Let's go ahead and move on to B tier. Next up in B tier, we're starting things off with the HVY Scarab. Now, the Scarab is a pretty underutilized vehicle and honestly a really cool vehicle. It goes for $2,313,000 if you have the trade price, and if you don't, it's going to run you $3,076,290. The Scarab is a tracked vehicle that is also very fast, and it does have some armaments from the Arena War update. It's also got a little bit of armor, and overall, it's a pretty interesting vehicle. It's way different than most other vehicles in GTA, and just out of pure scarcity alone, in the design and everything like that, I felt like I had to rank it in B tier, albeit being the lower vehicle in B tier. It's pretty cool. It does have front-mounted guns that you can equip it with. It also has proximity mines that it can drop, and it has some armor and it's just so unique. I just feel like this thing is definitely a B tier vehicle as far as HVY goes. Definitely something to look into, definitely something to keep your eyes on. It's really cool. Next time it goes on sale, I would certainly recommend buying one of these. It's really, really interesting and very unique. And for the final vehicle of B tier, we have the HVY Menacer. Coming in at $1,775,000. The HVY Menacer is a vehicle that I have personally always kind of had a problem with in GTA Online. I just feel like it's a worse version of the Insurgent Pickup Custom and the Night Shark, and arguably the HVY APC as well. It costs a little bit more than some of them as well, which is also a little bit more off-putting to me. However, it does have driver-controlled machine guns, which is pretty cool. It can seat 4 players, and it does have a top-mounted gun, as well as having pretty decent armor, albeit worse than the Insurgent Pickup Custom and Night Shark. But it is still a pretty decent vehicle. My biggest gripe with it, though, is that it has pretty terrible off-road performance because the ground clearance on this thing is just so low. However, it does have a very wide base, so you are a little bit more unlikely to tip over in the Menacer. It also has proximity mines that you can drop behind yourself, and I think it is a pretty cool looking vehicle, as well as it has some pretty nice customization, but I just feel like for the price it is a little bit steep, especially considering that you can get other vehicles that are arguably just as good for a little bit cheaper. There you have it. That is it for B tier. On to A tier. And as the sole vehicle in A tier, we have the HVY APC, costing $2,325,000 if you have the trade price. Now, if you do not have the trade price, it's going to be $3,092,250. Now, for that price, you are getting a 4-seater, aquatic or amphibious, heavily armored, essentially tank in GTA Online. This thing's pretty awesome. Now, when you are driving this thing, you do get access to droppable proximity mines behind the vehicle, and it does have a relatively low top speed. However, it does something that most other vehicles cannot, and that is drive through the water, and also drive fairly quickly through the water. It's actually quite fast in the water, which is really unique and quite neat. And the faster you hit the water, the faster you'll get across the water as well. So this is pretty cool. Now, another cool feature about the APC is that you can transition from the driver's seat into the passenger seat, which gets access to the gun, and it takes a very, very short amount of time. The APC is really cool in this regard, and the gun is also upgradable from a regular turret to a SAM battery, which can spam missiles very, very quickly. Now, the SAM battery does have limited ammo, whereas the tank gun does not have limited ammo. So for this, I would recommend just keeping the regular tank gun, but if you do want the SAM battery, it does output a lot more damage a lot quicker, but you will have that limited ammo capacity, and it does stick up quite high above the vehicle as well, and it can get caught on things as well as expose your vehicle to attackers, so do keep that in mind. Now, the 2 rear seats also get access to side-mounted machine guns that do okay damage. They're not that awesome, but it's like having an LMG inside the car instead of being able to shoot out with like an AP pistol or a tactical SMG or something like that, so it is kind of useful. HVY APC is a really cool vehicle, very unique. I think it looks awesome. Not much in the way of customization other than liveries, but beyond that, it is just a sick vehicle, and I definitely think it's something you guys should own, especially if you're even remotely interested in PvP. Getting started with S tier, you probably saw this one coming. We have the HVY Night Shark at $1,245,000. This thing is a bang for your buck icon in GTA Online. It is one of the most armored vehicles in the game, being able to take 27 homing missiles or 9 RPGs, which is really, really sweet. It also has driver-controlled machine guns, which do pretty terrible damage, all things considered, but it's also extremely fast, so you can get around in relatively great protection in a hurry in the Night Shark due to its pretty high top speed, as well as good all-wheel drive acceleration and launch, and the handling of it is pretty awesome too. It's good off-road, it's got enough ground clearance, as opposed to the HVY Menacer that we talked about a little bit earlier. You can actually off-road with this thing quite convincingly, and it can seat 4 players, which is pretty awesome. Now, you can also put armor plating on the windows, and previously these did not do anything for protecting the occupants. However, with a recent update to GTA Online, they seem to have changed this slightly at least, making the armor window plating ever so slightly better with the Night Shark. However, if you use window plating, you can no longer fire out of the inside of the vehicle with AP pistols or drive-by weapons, for example. So generally keeping the window plating off is a little bit of a better option for most people. The Night Shark certainly is an awesome vehicle, and for the price, it's hard to argue why it shouldn't be in S tier, and I definitely think it is very at home in this tier. And for the final HVY vehicle, you probably saw this one coming. We have the HVY Insurgent Pickup Custom as the best overall HVY vehicle in GTA Online. This thing goes for $1,350,000 to $1,795,500 if you don't have the trade price for the Insurgent Pickup. Then you're going to need an MOC or an Avenger and to pay an extra $202,500 for the upgrade to make the Insurgent Pickup into the Insurgent Pickup Custom. Now, when you make it into the Insurgent Pickup Custom, you gain access to being able to upgrade the regular Insurgent Pickup, meaning you can put armor upgrades, engine upgrades, brake upgrades, turbo, transmission, suspension changes, as well as upgrade other things like the optional proximity mine dropper that the Insurgent Pickup Custom possesses, as well as an upgraded top gun, and you can also change the armor level of the vehicle. For example, if you keep the medium armor, you can shoot from the inside of the vehicle. However, you can also upgrade to the heavier armor, which will protect your gunner on the top of the vehicle better, but restrict the use of drive-by weapons from the inside of the vehicle. Now, upgrading the weapon itself from a machine gun into a minigun is not something I would recommend because it does less damage and the machine gun is generally better, but it is an option nonetheless. The Insurgent Pickup Custom is easily the best HVY vehicle in the game, just in terms of pure versatility. It's awesome off-road, it's awesome on-road, and it does actually speed up pretty good. It's almost as fast as the Night Shark, just not quite there, but you do get a lot more versatility with the Insurgent Pickup Custom because it can take the exact same amount of damage, 27 homing missiles or 9 RPGs, while also being able to drop proximity mines and have a top-mounted gunner, as well as 8 other people in the vehicle, including the driver. So it's pretty hard to argue against the Insurgent Pickup Custom. This vehicle is generally really awesome, and I do think everyone should own one of these in GTA Online. Now, do keep in mind, if you are going to buy this thing, you are going to need an MOC with a vehicle workshop or an Avenger with a vehicle workshop inside it as well, in order to upgrade the Insurgent Pickup into the custom variant. But there you have it, guys. That is it for S tier, and that is it for ranking every HVY vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online, at least the purchasable ones. As I said, nobody wants to see cement trucks ranked. I don't think that there's any real point in doing that, especially when you can't buy them in the first place. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, a like is of course appreciated. If not, dislike. Consider subscribing to my channel if you guys are new. I'm going for 300,000 subscribers this year, and I need your help to get there. So if you want to help me out, I would appreciate it a lot. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.